Hi, I'm Richard Friedman, and welcome to my video cartoon for November 13th, 2025. Well, we got a little bit of a break this time. It's Thursday the 13th. It ain't Friday the 13th. We should be glad of that. So here today, we have here Richard Trump standing tall amid drug representative fainting in the Oval Office. And we have Mike Johnson reacts to the new Epstein emails, and just Ghislaine Maxwell in her new prison, which is like a little bit like a country club prison, after she was put there after an interview with the President Trump's deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche, who had been President Trump's attorney. Now he's the deputy Attorney General in the Pam Bondi. So after that interview, Ghislaine was transferred over here to this nice to the nice country club. So we'll get there. But first here, I want to show you here. This is number one cartoon here, where we have Richard Trump loyalist Senator Lindsey Graham comforting a man who passed out during an event in the Oval Office amid President Trump making a statement on lowering prices on weight loss drugs. Okay, so President Trump had been making a statement. President Trump had all these representatives from these drug companies who make these weight loss drugs to come together in the Oval Office there, and they were going to come to agreement about lowering the cost of these, making them more available and lowering the cost of those weight loss drugs. Okay, reportedly, and then what happened here is that in the middle of President Trump talking about the agreement they were either established or were going to establish, in the middle of that, one of the representatives for the drug company involved, he went like this, went down for the count, fainted, hit the floor, down he went, down for the count. So that wasn't too pleasing for President Trump. It's just like somebody falling asleep. Why? It's worse than somebody falling asleep when you're giving a speech. It's like somebody fainting. That's a little notch higher than falling asleep during a speech. So President Trump wasn't too happy about that. So he just took a stoic position here. And he was doing other things. There were times when he turned around and was looking what was going on. And he had head down looking. But here he was. This is in one instant where he was caught here, standing there, sort of detached, with a detached expression here, just standing stoically, standing straight, standing tall behind his desk, while everybody was around this guy who fell. You see, here he is. He fainted there. There he is on the floor. Fainted, down he went. And here is President Ronald Reagan here. I drew that in the Oval Office. There's President Ronald Reagan here, taking all this in, there he is. That's his portrait. I drew that as best as I could. President Reagan, So anyway, getting back here. So what happens in this scenario is this. That here's Lindsey Graham, Trump loyalist. Lindsey Graham, he's been loyal to President Trump a lot in many of his statements. And he's over here with the man comforting him, the man who's now fainted and lying on the floor there, while all these other people are looking around and are concerned and trying to get the guy up and do whatever. And then Lindsey goes, "Don't worry, you're in good hands. President Trump and Dr. Oz will be looking out for you, Dr. Oz." So what my point here is, they didn't call. Sometimes when somebody faints, they call an ambulance. They call, "Hey, give me an ambulance. We got a guy fainting here. We need an ambulance right out." You never heard about any ambulance coming up to the White House. What happened was they didn't need the ambulance because they had Dr. Oz. He was around. So they didn't call no ambulance or emergency rescue team or a fire truck or anything like that. Like you hear these, you hear any of those sirens going off. No, everything was quiet and peaceful there, And you had Dr. Oz. I don't think he's drawn here, but he'd be coming along very soon in a moment or two. And there was Lindsey Graham, as close to him as anybody else at that moment in time, giving him comfort to know that President Trump would be looking out for him and Dr. Oz would soon be there. And there it is. That was it. Okay. Okay. Let's zoom in on President Trump. I tried to capture him as I saw him. I drew it right from the photo of him standing there stoically. It surely was not happy that the guy fainted during the middle of his speech on reducing those costs on those weight loss losing drugs. You can be sure of that. There he is. There he was. Okay. Now, second cartoon here, we have. This is Richard's House Republican leader Mike Johnson's reaction to Democrats' release of new Epstein emails from Epstein's estate. This was released by the Democrats. Given it appears Johnson was able to delay a House vote to direct the Department of Justice to release the Epstein documents. So he did everything he could, appears to be, to postpone the vote that would, they needed 18 without this lady. They didn't have the 18. And as soon as Johnson just yesterday, he put her in there and got her sworn in. You know, they waited for that, and that by refusing to swear in Democratic newly elected representatives until November 12th. Yesterday, she was first sworn in, okay? And keeping the chamber out for 7 weeks. So everybody out of the country, a lot of these people, the federal workers, weren't getting paid. The air flight controllers in those towers, they weren't getting paid. So many of them had to drive those Uber things, you know, driving for Uber, well, instead of being up in the towers, watching that the planes don't go boom, but they weren't there, so they had to. So Secretary Duffy had to lower the number of planes significantly that were flying, and a lot of delays and this and that. But the Republicans, those House Republicans, went home. They were home for 7 weeks, and they got their full pay while all this was going on, you know. So. Okay, you decide on that one. Okay, so here is Mike Johnson now, hearing about these emails, this one particular email about that. It says that Trump knew about the girls. That's all it says. Trump knew about the girls. There were many of them, but I picked this one out because I thought that was most appropriate to pick out here, and I did that here. And there it was. Trump knew about the girls. So I have Johnson spinning it in his own way. Before I read this to you, I want you to understand one thing, is that Johnson said the other day, a while ago, not too long ago, that President Trump, they showed pictures of Jeffrey Epstein with Donald Trump in their younger days, and what happened was that Mike Johnson said that it's a good possibility that President Trump was working for the FBI as an undercover agent in that time, and he really was there to observe things, you know. So then he had to take that back and say, well, President Trump assisted this investigation as much as possible. He never did anything to stop it, and maybe I misspoke a little bit, but to misspoke to the extent of calling President Trump an undercover FBI agent, I mean, that's a little bit. So in that context, I added something on to his remark that would be in that ballpark, you know, approaching the way Marjorie Taylor Greene used to speak in that respect, in that kind of realm, you know. So here it was. Okay, of course, President Trump now says that Marjorie Taylor Greene has lost her way. She's talking like she was talking against the shutdown and this and that, and for health care and this and that. So Marjorie Taylor Greene, in Trump's way of thinking, has lost her way, and President Trump did say that, but Johnson has not lost his way, and I added something here that, in my opinion, fits in. He didn't say this, but it fits in to the context of that FBI informant deal. So I took that liberty here. So most of it he did say, and I'm going to read that to you right now. And here it goes. There's There's Johnson, thumbs up. He never stops supporting President Trump here. Even with those emails, he's thumbs up. And he's saying this. This is a massive distraction. Well, we are trying to get the government open and cover, because now they're on the verge of opening the government, and cover for their we're trying to get the government open and cover for the mistakes of Democrats. Their mistakes, he means the mistakes of Democrats. That email that Trump knew about the girls could have related to Epstein's support for the Girl Scouts of America. That's I made up, but it fits in the context of the FBI informant. You can't, you know that's it's in that ballpark. Even Girl Scout cookie. Even he might have even supported a Girl Scout cookie foundation to say that Trump knew about the girls. Trump knew about that Epstein was supporting the Girl Scouts of America. Sounds reasonable. So there it is, and there's thumbs up from Mike Johnson on the Trump emails released by the Democrats, but on the Epstein emails released by the Democrats. I don't want the Epstein emails released by the Democrats. Okay, correct that. Okay. And there are lots more to come, they say, and there are lots more still that are still there. So the bottom line here, it just doesn't look good. Put it that way. It don't look good, but there's nothing there so far that really is like a real what you would call a gotcha thing or anything like that. We're not looking for that. Certainly not for the President of the United States to be involved in anything like that. No, but I don't think anybody who's a real true American would want that to be, because it wouldn't look, it would really be a bad thing for this country. So I really, in my opinion, I don't want to see the day come, but I do think they should be released. And if it comes to that, so be it. That's my feeling. I would hope it didn't come to that, but that's just my view. Because it to hide these things and to not do it is a greater stain. To not have this stuff come out and make it clear to the American people what exactly happened here and those victims is a greater stain on America than it would be, in the case of President Trump, in my opinion. But I still don't want to see that happen to President Trump or any president of the United States. And there it is. Johnson, thumbs up. Okay. Now here is, again, this is just Ghislaine Maxwell, flashback, and here she is. After she met with Todd Blanche, the Deputy Attorney General, and Pam Bondi, who had been President Trump's former attorney. She met with him, and then she was released from a Florida high security prison to a low minimum security place in Texas, prison in Texas, I believe. And that's that was Federal Prison Camp Bryan here in Texas. There it is. And here she's serving the ball. She's having a fine time. And now she's having a fine time. She just got a new puppy that she could spend time with every day. So things are going pretty good for Ghislaine. She is. Now here's the cartoon going here, and this is how it goes. President Trump is watching her, giving her thumbs up, and she's serving the ball and playing ping pong. There it is. Nice trees, grass, and everything. And Richard's President Trump watching convicted sex trafficker Ghislaine Maxwell in the wake of her given a puppy as part of the preferential treatment she is receiving in a low security prison camp. Not meant for sex offenders, not meant for that in Texas, but she's there amid her enjoying some ping pong time, given the facility does have that amenity. Okay? So they do have ping pong tables there. Okay? And here's President Trump saying this. Ghislaine, thumbs up. Ghislaine, thumbs up for your interview with my Justice Deputy Todd Blanche. I hope you enjoy your play time with your new puppy. I see you have a Good ping pong serve. Sorry about the Supreme Court loss. She lost the Supreme Court. They refused to hear her case, wanting to reverse her conviction. They refused to hear that. I will take a look at it. President Trump did say, when he asked if he would pardon Ghislaine Maxwell, he said he'll take a look at it and he'll talk it over with. He'll refer it to the Justice Department, to his Justice Department. So that's this. He didn't say point blank. No, she's a convicted trafficker, sex trafficker of young girls. No, he didn't say like that. He said we'll have to take a look at it, and along with my Justice Department, he said that I'll have to take a look at it. We'll have to take a look at it. Okay, I will take a look at it. Keep up the good work, Ghislaine. Maybe we can get a ladies ping pong team started for you to coach. So maybe we'll get a ladies ping pong team started for her to coach there, so she could be out there with the ladies playing ping pong. There she is. And that was that. There was the ping pong table. Okay. And there's her residence there, nice grass and everything. Looks like one of the camps I used to teach tennis at, like one of those bunkers, like one of those bunks of summer camp. That's what it looked like. And I drew it as it was, as I saw it. Everybody's happy. And that was Ghislaine at the ping pong table. Okay, now we have here President Trump here. This is a flashback cartoon. American Balance of Power, Trump style, June 30th, 2025. Here is President Trump. And here you have, he's got these agencies on a string. Here is Congress, okay, who let President Trump do all his tariffs. They didn't stop him. He went all through. Now it's going to go to the Supreme Court and see what they decide. But had to wait all this stuff had to happen. And now it's up to the Supreme Court to decide. Here is there's the Supreme Court. Oh, I'm sorry, that's the Capitol. Here's the Supreme Court. Good thing. Here's the Supreme Court. There it is. Okay. Now the Supreme Court gave President Trump his immunity from things he does, unless it's anything directed and remotely connected to his duties, he cannot be prosecuted for, no matter what, even remotely connected. So the Supreme Court gave him a good immunity deal, a good umbrella from prosecution. That was the Supreme Court. And here is the FBI. This is the J. Edgar Hoover FBI building, now run by Kash Patel. He runs the FBI. And a lot of people have been taken out of that place. A lot, or just not by their performance. It appears, from what I've read, reportedly, because of their past working on cases that did not favor President Trump. I guess January 6th and things like that. Those people have been exited. A lot of them resigned on their own, and that's that. Okay, and then you got here, that was Supreme Court, Department of Justice, run by Pam Bondi, and a lot of stuff got a lot of people left there too, and Pam Bondi has is now directing. She's directing a action against former CIA Director John Brennan. He has not yet been indicted. This relates to that in 2023 that the CIA, involving the CIA and the Steele dossier and all that stuff, that community Russian election interference, falsely claiming the CIA opposed, using the dossier, the Steele dossier, that was a bad thing that was done there. That it's just intertwining. It's so complicated. It's not at this point. It's just like a tiny dot in a footnote in history. But the fact is, the bottom line of the investigation was that the Russians did not influence the election physically with tampering with the votes themselves, but they did try to put things out to influence people to vote for Donald Trump. So they're saying now they tried to nail Donald Trump with this Steele dossier and this and that, and that he lied, that he didn't want to use that dossier and this and that. It's petty. It sounds petty to me, and I ain't no attorney, but just it sounds like, it sounds like a jaywalking ticket, It just sounds very petty, but we'll see where that goes. Okay, so that was the Department of Justice on the Pam Bondi. They're going after that. They're going after that former CIA man, John Brennan. Okay, and there it is, and there's the Capitol of Congress. Nothing much to say about that. You've already experienced what they're about, and that was it. He's got the boil. That's Trump, American balance of power, Trump style. So there is no more balance of power, because Trump basically he's got all these things on a string in one way or another. It appears that way. It appears that way. It appears that way. I'm not saying that is. I'm saying it appears that way to me. Okay, from all the things that have been going on, Congress, they let those tariffs go by. Now it goes to the Supreme Court, and see what they're going to say. And all this time has gone by. So I don't know. There it is. This is American balance of power, Trump style. All right, folks. Thank you for watching my video. God bless you. Hang in there, and I'll see you next time. Bye.